So you might have passed by the Scotland community just off Seven Locks Road and think it's just another housing development in Potomac, Maryland.
But this community has a rich history filled with generations of African-American families who have endured for more than a century to keep the land they call home.
Montgomery County's Scotland community dates back to the Reconstruction Era, when newly freed African Americans were first allowed to buy property. William Dove was among the first to settle in Potomac, Maryland. He bought 36 acres for $210 at a public auction. Over the next few years, more Scotland founding families bought land in what was known as Snake's Den until the community adopted the name Scotland in the 1920s.
I was surrounded by history without knowing, but every day I was learning something.
Letitia Gassaway Paul's great-great-grandfather was William Dove.
The importance of the land that we currently live on today is so significant, and I don't take it for granted. So this is the original light that my grandfather had installed in 1968.
Letitia lives in the Scotland home where her grandparents raised her. She carries the memories and the presence of her ancestors.
My ancestors lived in shacks. And them shacks, they didn't have windows, no electricity, no sewer system. How could someone do such a thing to a living being, to a human being? But it happened.
Roosevelt Twyman married into the Scotland community, and at 94, he's their oldest living resident.
Take me back to what life was like here in Scotland before these houses were built.
Life was hard before these houses were built. We had to carry water from the spring, do washing and do dishes and all that. And we didn't have electric. Used to have a light of kerosene lamp every night, you know, it's for light.
Scotland was nearly uninhabitable. Most houses in this community of working, tax-paying citizens had no running water and had to cross Seven Locks Road to get it from a spring.
And it was kind of rough sometimes, so I always try to push things off that was bad. I don't think about them too much.
They had no sewer systems and had to use outhouses. They had no garbage service and no paved roads.
That felt normal to you.
It was what it was. It kind of made the best of what it was, you know what I mean?
Former Temple University and NFL running back Paul Boo Boo Palmer was raised in Scotland.
My sister's far left, my sister Tanya's far left, and that's me right there. Without a doubt, I believe that that's my great-grandmother's house, Frances Palmer. That's her home. It's the only home I ever knew until I left to go to college. And my grandmother, I felt like she wasn't going to miss me. She didn't say anything. She didn't cry. And as I was about to leave, you know, my great-grandma came out on the porch, and I jumped out the car and I ran up there. I gave her a big hug. And I just remember her telling me she loved me. She told me she was proud of me.
And these people were just incredible. And the resiliency that they had in order to just make it from day to day and the way that they had to live was awesome.
Bernard Scott also married into Scotland. He says the community adopted him as one of their own.
You know, their surroundings were deteriorating, but they were full of love.
Bernard would sit and talk with the elders, who were only 1 or 2 generations from enslavement.
They would tell you everything, and they're full of wisdom.
At one point, Scotland was comprised of more than 500 acres of land, but developers and urban sprawl was coming for this community from all sides, and some Scotland families sold their land.
You say, and many people believe, that the land that belonged to Scotland descendants was stolen from them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because I watched it happen. I watched it happen. The developers understood that. They were dealing with people who, most of them did not graduate from high school. Most of them could not read nor write. And in fact, it was against the law for us to know how to read or write. So it became legal a witness, that if someone witnessed you put in an X, that became a legal document. But who was the witness? Was the witness somebody who was there on their behalf, or was the witness someone who was there on the other folks' behalf?
So they were taken advantage of.
Oh, they were definitely taken advantage of. We understand that black folks were always taken advantage of in some form or fashion. That the only way to get what they wanted was to do what they did.
Today, Scotland has been whittled down to just 11 acres, and out of that, only 3 acres is still owned by Scotland families.
You know, I always kind of look back at, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Rosewood, Florida, and Scotland, and I put them all in the same bag. There was nobody murdered here in Scotland, but there certainly was a lot of hearts broken and a lot of lives upset.
What family members are near you now?
Cousin and 2 sister-in-laws, all 3 of them living together in a row over there. And then my daughter lives in the next house.
Okay.
After that, they have Tristine. Then the next house is Mark Mason. And then my grandson lives in the next house.
It's like a family reunion every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Above all, and in spite of the hardships, faith, love, and lineage keeps them going.
It is rare to see a community with so many family members concentrated in one area, but that is Scotland, and they are having to come together in a new campaign to try and save it. But to understand this journey, you have to learn about the first campaign to save Scotland, something I'll share with you tomorrow at 5:30.
First of all, well done. I was listening to Mr. Roosevelt there and him describing what it was like living in this community early on, from the electricity to the water. But what I'm most fascinated about is how they were able to preserve this history and document everything so this story doesn't get lost.
Absolutely. There are so many griots in the community. And when you think about Uncle Rosie, as they call him, Uncle Eddie, who's also another one of the oldest living descendants there. You want to soak up all that history, and they have. And as we take you along this journey, you're going to meet the modern matriarch of this family, Letitia Gassaway Paul, and learn a little bit more about her as well. But Scotland is a story that should be told not just here, but really around the nation. And as the story unfolds over the next 4 days, you'll understand why.
That is clear. Okay, part 2 tomorrow.
Part 2 tomorrow.
All right,
Part 2 tomorrow.